Welcome to the Travel Tidbits Podcast, hosted by me, Jamie Weidel, travel advisor and owner of Pineapple Escapes Travel. Join me as I share the latest travel news, top destinations, and expert tips for the savvy traveler. Because after all, travel makes life sweeter. Welcome back to the Travel Tidbits Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Weidel, and today we're diving into one of the hottest topics for Disney travelers, lightning lanes. If you've ever wished for shorter wait times at Walt Disney World, this episode is for you. We're breaking down the best strategies for using lightning lanes like a pro, and I'm joined today by Pineapple Escapes travel agent April Sporel.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me on today. I'm so excited to talk about lightning lanes with everybody.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. But before we jump into Disney planning, I think we have to talk about your last big Walt Disney World trip where you ran a Run Disney event. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience and how it was and that trip?
Oh my goodness, yes. My first Run Disney race experience was just fantastic. But I do have to put in the disclaimer that we did not run. We walked very quickly. We trained at a 15-minute per mile pace, but it was still just, an amazing challenge. I went with a group of ladies and we just had such a great experience, just connecting and growing together throughout the whole process of training together. And then being able to achieve that, the event of walking that half marathon, which was just so empowering. Just a powerful, powerful experience together. And, and Disney handled everything just so wonderfully. I mean, everything from the way the race expo was organized to the race transportation was seamless. And then the race itself was just so much fun with all the character greetings and music and bands and just all the volunteers and cast members and their encouragement. It just made for such a fun trip. And I'd highly recommend it to anyone who needs a little motivation to get themselves moving and have a goal in mind.
Yeah.
And plus the medals were really pretty cool too.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about so there's characters on the course that you can meet. Did you take the time to meet some of them or how did that go?
Well, we were so nervous about the balloon ladies. To be fair, we were mostly me. Everybody else wasn't as nervous, but I tend to be. I want to make sure that we finish. So we didn't stop for character meet and greets, but if we do it again, we will definitely take the time to stop. We did stop at all the mile markers and do selfies and that kind of fun stuff. And then we tried to kind of walk, run by and video the characters, but just the energy and excitement and enthusiasm of everybody it just really kept you going for the event. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I was following along on your social media while you were gone and wishing I was there. And then you would have snacks after the races. And I'm like, I really want that. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We had a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Of course, we stretched it out. That's your little Disney math is, well, you want to make sure you're there a few days to get yourself accustomed to the big 1 hour time change and all of that. So.
Yeah. I love it.
It was fun. It was a really fun trip.
I love that. So I do think that Run Disney is a great way to experience the parks, but for most of our guests, most of our clients, they are going either with their family or with a friend group, and they're more worried about the attractions. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the lightning lanes. So first of all, April, can you give us just an overview of what the lightning lanes are and how they work?
Yes, absolutely. Lightning lanes are Disney's newest way of allowing guests to bypass the standby lines and have a shorter wait in the lightning lane. So if you were at Disney during the time of the Fast Pass or the Fast Pass Plus, I think you'll find that the lightning lane system and program is very similar to that system.
Yeah, I would agree completely. It is very, very similar. But there are it used to be they've changed it a lot. There's been a lot of changes over even in the last year. So I guess let's talk a little bit about that and what this looks like now for clients who are going, how far in advance do they need to plan?
Yes, absolutely. So this is the way it works now. So if you choose to purchase the Lightning Lane Multipass There are two different types, but let's talk about the multi-pass first. What you'll do is you'll pre-select 3 attractions and return windows for each day of your trip that you choose to do the multi-pass purchase time. And then on the day of your trip, as soon as you use one of your lightning lanes, you'll have the ability to book another one. So you'll always be able to hold 3 lightning lane passes at a time during your trip. You're only allowed to book at 1 park per day initially, but then as soon as you begin using your lightning lanes, you'll be able to book lightning lanes at other parks if you're going to be park hopping that day.
Okay. And so that's the multi-pass. And
Yes.
so that is one price. And then we also have single pass, which is another price. So let's talk a little bit about single pass and how that works.
Yes, absolutely. The single pass lightning lanes are going to be for 1, or in the case of the Magic Kingdom, 2 lightning lanes in that park. And these are going to be the big headliner attractions. So for instance, in the Magic Kingdom, it's going to be Tron and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. In Epcot, it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. At Animal Kingdom, it's Flight of Passage. And then at Hollywood Studios, it's going to be Rise of the Resistance. So the way these work is that if you're going to choose to use a lightning lane for this attraction, you're not going to be able to select it with your other multi-pass selections under the multi-pass lightning lane. So you will choose to an additional lightning lane for this attraction at an additional cost. But the good thing about it, the positive thing about it, is that you're going to be able to choose your return window. So whereas with the multi-pass lightning lanes, you're going to be assigned a return window for each attraction that you select. And you have some ability to modify that somewhat. With the individual lightning lanes, when you are choosing that lightning lane selection, say, for instance, you're choosing Tron and you say, oh, I've heard Tron is really great after dark. So I'm going to choose between 7 and 8 p.m. for my lightning lane. You're able to do that. So you do have that flexibility. You can dial in exactly when you choose to ride that attraction.
So for example, with Magic Kingdom, if I'm doing multi-pass and single pass, I could have up to 5 lightning lanes before I even enter the park.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You sure can. And it's really a great advantage, especially at Magic Kingdom, but especially even more so at Hollywood Studios. Yeah. I would say to all of my clients, if there's one park that you're going to get lightning lanes for, it absolutely needs to be Hollywood Studios. They're just fewer attractions at that park, and the attractions are so popular that know you're walking into that park with 4 lightning lanes in your back pocket is just a great feeling.
Yeah.
And then you know that you'll have the opportunity, hopefully, to pick up a few more during the day as well.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain it too. So I think we also need to kind of at least touch on premium pass and virtual queues and how those differ. So let's talk about premium pass first. So what does that look like?
Okay, so for the premium pass, if you just definitely want to have a day where you want to go to a park and you want to have no problem going on every single attraction in the park that day, then the premium lightning lane is going to be for you. It's a much higher priced product, but when you choose it, you will have 1 entry to every attraction in the park, including the ones that are individual lightning lanes. And there are no time restrictions. So if, for instance, you buy it for Hollywood Studios, you will be able to go on each of those attractions once on your timeline. So it's kind of like you're kind of your own little personal VIP tour, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
So it gives you the flexibility, but it's going to come at a much higher price tag. But if this is your once in a lifetime trip, or you just want to have a super special day with your family, then definitely it's an option.
Yeah, I think that your comparison to VIP tour is a great one because it is kind of like your own VIP tour. You're going through the lightning lane for each of these attractions. So your wait time is going to be much lower, and to be able to make sure that you do everything that you want to do. That's definitely a great option depending on obviously your budget and how you structure your park days. But it is something to think about. So let's also just briefly touch on virtual queue as well, because that's another way to get kind of a return time.
Right. And now actually, as of, I think it was February 25th, there are no rides currently using a virtual queue. So that's good and that's bad. It's bad if you were really good at getting virtual queues, which I was really good at it, but it's good if you want, because we're talking about lightning lanes, and lightning lanes are great. And absolutely, if you want to reduce your wait time, you can use a lightning lane. But don't forget, you can always just go get in line. And so now those attractions that were previously only available through lightning lane and through the virtual queue, you weren't able to go get in line if you wanted to go and get in line for that attraction. And now you'll be able to. It's been interesting kind of watching people rope dropping Guardians, because that was one of the ones that was always virtual queue, or buying a lightning lane. So yeah, but who knows, maybe when Tron opens back up, and certainly when they get some of all of the new projects going at the different parks. I mean, not Tron, I meant Test Track. When Test Track reopens, or when they get a new attraction open at a new park, definitely the virtual queues will come back. And then that's definitely something that we'll have to revisit at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so virtual queue is typically the newest attractions in the park. So right now we're kind of in a lull as we're waiting for some of the new expansions to take place, which is a good thing, I think. But the virtual queue, typically it's 7 a.m. and 1 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern time. So you have to be like on your phone at that moment to get them. So it is a whole other ordeal in and of itself. But we'll address that, yes, again, in another Disney podcast where we get into that more. But I do think it's important to mention, especially if there are new attractions when you're listening to this, that is something to keep in mind and to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a little bit of the 7 a.m. frenzy with the lightning lane selection process as well, too. So I don't know if you wanted to discuss some strategies for when you're choosing your initial lightning lanes and so forth.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're staying on property, you can choose them 7 days before your park day. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like when you're deciding. I mean, this is a week before your trip. So you're not even usually on property. You're not on vacation yet. You're getting up early to select these lightning lanes. What does that process look like? How are you deciding what you want to do a week in advance?
Exactly. It does seem a little overwhelming, but I think with a couple simple guidelines, you can at least get started in the right direction. So first of all, you talk about that 7-day advantage. And let me tell you what, that is huge, because the way lightning lanes work is that when people initially begin to choose them 7 days out, and they get to choose them for the length of their trip. So say, for instance, you have a 5-day trip, you're going to be choosing, if my math is correct, lightning lanes for 13 days away, right? Or 12, something. And so then people who are not staying on site are not going to be able to choose theirs until they're 3 days out. And by that point, so many people have made their selections that the way the lightning lanes work is that the first ones that are available are going to be right at park opening. And then as they're chosen, they will be moving further and further into the afternoon, into the evening. And then sometimes 3 days before your park visit, they may be unavailable for your day that you're planning to go. I mean, Slinky Dog Dash is a perfect example of this. If you wait until 3 days before you want to go to Hollywood Studios, you're not going to be able to get a lightning lane because they've all been selected by other guests. So it's a good strategy to go ahead and do that 7 days out when you have the opportunity. And one thing I tell my clients is then also kind of strategically think about your park days. If you're doing 4 park days, maybe they're in a row, maybe you have a rest day in the middle, save your Hollywood Studios day till towards the end of your trip, because those are the lightning lanes that are going to go most quickly and will be selected into afternoon, evening times first. So if you're planning to go to parks Monday through Thursday, maybe you're saving your Hollywood Studios day till Thursday to give you that little extra bit of head start on it. Same with Magic Kingdom. Maybe you're doing 2 Magic Kingdom days. Put one at the beginning of your trip because there's so many lightning lanes at Magic Kingdom. You're going to have great selections, but put one towards the end of your trip if I absolutely need to get Tiana, or it's important for me that I want to get on Jungle Cruise and Peter Pan. So I want to be able to choose both of those, and I might not be able to get them both in one day. So putting one towards the end of your trip is a great idea for Magic Kingdom as well. And so then once you have your park days, and I mean, let's be realistic. Most people, when they go to Magic Kingdom, they've already got some dining reservations set. They kind of have an idea in their head of which park they're going to initially start at each day. So as long as you have that, you're going to be set to make your lightning lane selections. Then you want to think about, okay, we haven't talked about tiers. So lightning lanes for multi-pass are divided into 2 tiers at 3 of the 4 parks. Animal Kingdom doesn't have any tiers. So when you're making your Animal Kingdom selections, all you have to do is choose your 3 top choices and make your Lightning Lane selections for those. But all of the other parks are going to have 2 tiers of rides. Tier 1 are going to be the most popular rides that everybody's going to want to get. And there's going to be anywhere between 3 to 5 in that top tier. And you're only going to get to select one of those. And then for tier 2, you're going to get to choose 2 rides or 2 attractions. So what you want to do is you want to look at which rides are in which tier at each park and then decide which of the tier 1 rides is most important to you, or which of the tier 1 rides is going to be gone quickly early in the day. And you're going to want to choose that one first and then look at tier 2 and say, okay, which are the 2 from this tier that are most important to me and my family? And there is some strategy with that. I mean, if you're trying to get on every ride at Hollywood Studios or Magic Kingdom, you're going to want to really think about your selections pretty carefully. So for instance, in Hollywood Studios, if you have that window of 7 days plus a few days, you're going to want to grab Slinky Dog as your tier 1 attraction. And then for your tier 2 attractions, you're going to want to grab Toy Story Mania and Tower of Terror, unless you don't have any thrill riders. And then you're going to pick Alien Swirling Saucers. And then everything else, probably you'll be able to grab during the day. But if you don't get that Slinky, or if you don't get Tower or Toy Story, those might be gone after you've made your first selection and you're going back. So you kind of want to know which ones are going to run out first. I always have a phone call with my clients before their 7-day window opens up, and we talk about that. Which attractions are most important to your family? And they'll give me the list or I'll make suggestions. And then we'll just look at them and we'll say, okay, so this one is what you're going to want to choose for your tier 1, because this one within the first hour of park opening is going to be at evening times. And so they'll choose that one for their first one. And then we'll talk about which tier 2s are going to make the most sense for them. And then honestly, I mean, when you are opening that app at 7 a.m. on your morning for booking, you're going to want to have some notes and you're going to write them down. And a lot of people will say, okay, let's look out further in my trip. Grab that day first. That Hollywood Studios day, that's my 4th day of my trip. I'm going to book that day first. My Animal Kingdom day, I'm going to book that last because those are going to be available for me. And I'm not going to have to be as concerned about grabbing those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I love how you kind of describe the tiers. I think that's really important, especially when we're talking with our clients about lightning lanes, to think about what's most important for their family. If they're going with just little kids, like, they're not going to care about Tower of Terror. They're not going to need those kinds of lightning lanes. So we're going to strategically plan something that fits their family. And I really think that's where our expertise as Disney people comes into play, because we know Disney, we go to Disney, we understand Disney. And that's where we can really help people who aren't those Disney people have the best trip possible, especially with all of the changes that we've seen with lightning lanes and how they're structured. I think that that's a great way to look at it. One thing I did want to just touch on is park hopper. So how do the lightning lanes impact park hopper?
Absolutely. Okay. So when you're park hopping, what you'll do is you're going to select 3 lightning lanes for your first park. And hopefully you've got that 7-day booking window. Hopefully you've gotten on and booked your lightning lanes, and you make sure you have at least 1 lightning lane, if possible, booked within the first hour of park opening or the first hour of when you're going to get to the park, even if you might not need it. So you're probably not going to need a Pirates lightning lane at 9 a.m. on a Thursday in May, but book it anyway. Tap into that lightning lane, even if it's not really saving you time in the line for that ride. Now you will be able to book a 4th lightning lane. And the key is the tiers are now gone. Now you don't have to worry about tier 1 and tier 2. So maybe you're planning to go to Epcot later. So when you tap into Pirates, you're going to look immediately on your app and you're going to say, okay, can I grab one of those last frozen lightning lanes over at Epcot for tonight? Because now my tiers are open and I can grab another tier 1 attraction. So there is some strategy involved with that. But honestly, depending on the park you're going to, if you're going to go to Magic Kingdom and and you think, oh, maybe I'm going to use 5 or 6, 7 lightning lanes in the morning. Then I want to start booking for a switch of day to Animal Kingdom or Epcot. You can book as many as you want in your first park before you start booking in your second, but you can also mix and match. So maybe you're planning to go to Epcot later. So you've tapped into Pirates, you grabbed Frozen, and now your next lightning lane is Haunted Mansion. And by now it's 10 o'clock and the lines are building. So you actually need that lightning lane, and it saved you 30 minutes in line, say. But you think, oh, I'm going to grab Space Mountain here at Magic Kingdom before I hop to Epcot. And maybe you're going to grab 2 or 3 more before you start grabbing more Epcot ones later. Maybe at lunch, you think, okay, it's 1 or 2 o'clock. Now we're going to go over to Epcot. Oh, look, here's Soarin' is available. I can grab Soarin' for near to the end of the day where my Frozen lightning lane is going to be. So there is some strategy. And like you said, honestly, the feedback I get from my clients is that I was helpful with a lot of things, but what I helped them with the most was that park strategy, especially having to do with the lightning lanes. So I think using a travel advisor is going to be so helpful to you, especially if you're not, like you said, knowledgeable about Disney. Or honestly, when you're in the parks with that 2 and 4-year-old and you're thinking, what did she say? My clients, they can text me and I'll say, oh yeah, remember we said you were going to try to grab Frozen at Epcot. Oh yes, right. So you've got that person who you can reach out to and they'll help you, because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and there are so many different pieces. Like for us, this is something that we do every day. So we think about it a lot. And so I feel like in some ways we're like the experts when we're there, because we're like, get to do all of our little tricks and do it ourselves, which is a lot of fun for my family. But I also think having that expertise is really where our help can be so beneficial. So thinking about like lightning lanes, how do you direct your clients? Like, are you basing your decision on crowds? Are you basing it on their budget? Like, what do you look for when they're trying to decide if lightning lane's for them?
Right. Absolutely. So with my clients, when we have that phone conversation and I tell them, first of all, I kind of do like we did today. I give them a general overview of what is lightning lanes, what is multi-pass, what is the individual lightning lane, the single pass, and then, I kind of get their feedback from what kind of a trip are they hoping for and what attractions are they hoping to ride and what is their budget. So maybe they've budgeted and they've decided, yes, we're going to buy lightning lanes 2 of the days. And then I would say, well, absolutely. Let's look at your Hollywood Studios day and your Magic Kingdom day. And then here's a strategy for rope drop for Animal Kingdom, where I feel like you can get everything done that you want to do. Or maybe there's one person in the family that likes the thrill rides. So we'll talk about how, well, we want to purchase the individual lightning lanes just for that person. So I think every family, it's going to be different. I tend to seem to have a lot of clients with little kids. So maybe we're not looking at as many of the thrill rides as some families might, like my family when we go. So I think for every family, it's different. Honestly, though, depending on the price per day, and it could go up, I don't want to say it's nominal, but relative to what you're spending on your vacation, I feel like it's a good value to spend the money on the lightning lanes because it's going to really increase your satisfaction and make your day more enjoyable. And I'll ask them that. I'll say, how important is an hour or 2 of your time standing in line? Do you feel like your group, maybe you have preteens and they'll be fine sitting on their phone waiting in line. But, if you have little kids, maybe you want to avoid those lines. Maybe it's you have to weigh it out for what your family.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it really depends on what you're wanting to get out of the day. Like if you're just wanting to go in and ride 2 rides and have lunch or something like that, then you don't need it. But if you are going for a full day and wanting to make the most of your time, and time is money.
Absolutely.
And personally, for my family, I feel like it's usually worth it just to be able to do more in that day. So we get more value out of our ticket when we add the lightning lane, even though it does cost more. And lightning lanes ×5 are not inexpensive. Like it's definitely something you need to budget for and think about as part of your trip. But I do feel like typically it is worth it, especially for people who want to make the most of their time and their vacation dollars.
Absolutely. And you can go into the app and you can tap on the Lightning Lane tab and you can see what the pricing is for 3 weeks out. So before your trip, 3 weeks out before your trip, you'll be able to see, okay, so on that day, I'm going to Animal Kingdom. This is what the price is going to be for the multi-pass. This is what the price is going to be for the individual Lightning Lane for Flight of Passage. And then you can make the decision with your family and budget it out. So at least it's not like a few months ago when it was open your app and see what the price is. Do I want to spend that today?
You're right.
So
at 7 a.m.
Now you can plan it out. You can say, so I went with a group of ladies for fall break and we looked at it ahead of time and we said, okay, this is what it's going to be. We added it up. What do we want to do? This is each person's part. And then we decided that, yes, we wanted to do that. But definitely, even as early as when you're booking your trip, and I will mention to my clients, just something to keep in mind. This is going to be an additional expense, just as dining would be, or if you want to do Bippy Boppity Boutique, so it's different people have different priorities for what's important to them for their trip.
Yeah.
But I think this one has a good value.
I agree. And I think that that's one thing that we really excel into is being able to kind of figure out what their priorities are and lead them in the right direction, depending on what type of trip they're looking for. So thinking about like lightning lanes in general, where do you feel like people make the biggest mistakes, or what are some common errors that you see in the lightning lane process?
Yes, I think just not doing the research, not knowing what's available, not knowing about the tiers, not having a plan before they go to book, or waiting too late to book. Maybe they've had that 7-day window and then they've waited until the day before and they'll say, oh no, nothing's available, or I can't get a lightning lane until 3:00 in the afternoon. So, honestly, if you're working with a travel advisor and your travel advisor, especially if it's with Pineapple Escapes, that individual is going to really make sure you're on the timeline and the planning. And just like, I really think that's the only real mistake you can make. And honestly, people say, oh, I got 10 lightning lanes, or I got 12 lightning lanes today. That's not everybody's objective.
Yeah.
But you don't want somebody to purchase a multi-pass and then only get 3 rides, and they're not until 5:00 in the afternoon. And so that's not going to be a positive experience. And I wouldn't want my client to have that. So I just think it's the planning and the preparation that's the biggest mistake.
Right. And taking the time to listen to a podcast about lightning lanes and to work with someone who can help you kind of figure out what you're going for when you're making them. I think that's definitely key and really important.
There's one other mistake I think people make. And I know I've made this mistake too, because when you're sitting on your couch at 7 a.m. a week out from your vacation, you're like, oh yeah, I can get from Space Mountain to Pirates. And so I'm going to do Space Mountain from 9 to 10 and Pirates from 10 to 11. And then I'm going to do Dumbo from 11 to 12 or whatever. And you're running yourself around. And it's not so much at Magic Kingdom where it is at Epcot. So I want that Remy lightning lane, but you know what? Wait and get it for 2 in the afternoon when you're going to be over there in World Showcase anyway. Don't have yourself running from Spaceship Earth to Remy and then back to Mission Space. So you have to have some knowledge of the parks as well. So that's another one that I just thought of for sure.
Oh yeah. Especially Epcot. It's a haul from Spaceship Earth all the way back to Remy. So
yes,
having some idea of where things are located so you're not zigzagging all over the parks is definitely an important thing as well. Yeah, kind of planning that out. So when you are thinking about Genie Plus and making your plan for the day, is there something specific that you, we've talked about, you look at the tiers, all of those things, but are you on immediately at 7 Eastern? Are you setting an alarm? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's me, but yes, I am. I'm on immediately. I've got the app open. I'm ready to push the buttons and I am ready to book my Hollywood Studios day. And honestly, sometimes if I want Slinky first, I will book Slinky and pay and get that. And then I can schedule the other ones in afterwards. That's sort of like an advanced lightning lane move. But I mean, if there's something you have to have,
do that first.
Yes, I would be up doing it as soon as you can. And then also, if you don't get every single ride exactly how you want it to be, you can modify and look at it, because you don't know, because maybe a day or two later, something opens up or people are always switching. So you can look and you can modify your lightning lanes. It's not super intuitive how to do that, but your travel advisor can certainly help you with that. But also, you don't want to be in a panic. Don't overthink it too much as well. Like, I tend to be an overthinker, but I don't want my clients to feel like if I don't get Slinky Dog Dash as a lightning lane, my day is ruined or something like that. So we'll get you on it one way or another. So,
right. And you can always wait in the standby line. It just will take longer.
Absolutely. Maybe you're going to try rope drop. We should do another podcast on rope drop strategies. I've got some great ideas for that too.
I'll put that on my list. So I think this was all really great help for lightning lanes, but now we're to our travel favorite of the week. So when you're in the Disney parks, April, what is one item that you always bring with you that makes your trip easier or more enjoyable?
Okay. So this is simple and probably a little silly, but I have a very small packable rain jacket that I bring with me every day when I go to a Disney park, no matter what the forecast says, because, Florida could rain. And I used to be a poncho girl, always had the dollar disposable ponchos. And I still carry those because you never know when you're going to need one of those. But I don't know if it's a safety regulation or something, but one thing I've noticed lately when I go to the Disney parks is that if you're wearing a poncho, every time you go in and out of a building to go on an attraction, they make you take the poncho off. So it's poncho off, poncho on, poncho off, and it drives me crazy. And with the rain jacket, they'll let you leave it on. They're not worried about the wet. I think it's the getting caught in something, or it's some sort of safety, which is great. It makes sense. So I'd say bring a packable rain jacket for everybody in your group, rain gear every day. And also on our October trip, I got to go with a little one for the first time in a long time. Those rain covers for the strollers, have to have it.
Worth it.
Have to have it. That's all your stuff under there.
Yeah.
So I know that's not super exciting or even something that, it's a few dollars to get. Make sure you've got them. Make sure you've got rain protection for your family.
One thing I think about with like the rain and everything, like when you're in Florida, it could rain for 30 minutes and then the rest of the day will be beautiful and sunny. But almost inevitably on an Orlando day, you're going to get rain at some point. So I think that's an excellent idea. All right. So this has been such a helpful conversation, and I hope that we have explained lightning lanes and single pass and multi-pass to kind of give you a better idea of what you're looking for when you're going to Walt Disney World. April, do you have anything else to share with our listeners who are planning Walt Disney World?
Yes, absolutely. 2 quick things. The first thing is, I know we've been talking about lightning lanes and taking advantage of getting on every attraction and making the best use of your time on your trip, but don't forget to slow down and enjoy. Stop and look and experience the sights, the smells, the music, all of the parts of the park. Don't be in such a rush to next attraction, because your trip will be over in a flash and you'll think, oh, I missed it. So take the time to slow down, and then also use a travel advisor. Let one of us help you, because this is what we do and we love to do it. We get enjoyment out of it. We love for you to have a great trip and for everything to go smoothly. And we're so happy to help. So take advantage. Use a travel advisor and take advantage of your travel advisor and really use their guidance, because we can really help you to make your trip amazing.
I agree on both counts. Like, enjoy the experience of Disney and let us help you make those memories with your family so you're not panicked the whole time. Like, that's what we're here for. And you're right. We love what we do. I love that. So for all of our listeners that are out there today, if you're ready to plan your next Disney vacation, we are an earmarked Disney agency and we have numerous Disney experts on our team. So no matter if you're planning Walt Disney World, Disneyland, a Disney cruise, Alani, Adventures by Disney, we have agents who have been there, who have done that, and would love to help. So you can email us at info@pineappleescapes.com if you're wanting to plan a magical Disney trip. And thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a travel tip. And after all, travel makes life sweeter. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast, where we believe travel makes life sweeter. The team at Pineapple Escapes Travel would love to help you plan a trip filled with lasting memories. Visit us online at www.pineappleescapes.com to start planning your next adventure.